Okay, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, so it's another session of Let's Talk, Let's Heal. And as always, I like to bring speakers in that are really relevant to what's happening nowadays and talk about things that need to be spoken about. So, alhamdulillah, qadarallah, it happened. I have with me Maya Salam. Salam alaikum, sis.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Now, Maya, I just want to quickly introduce you. You have got over 14 years of a background in psychodynamic therapy and also Islamic psychology, mashallah. And that, of course, is extraordinary for me because often when we reach out to someone, we also want someone to understand our limitations as a Muslim. So that is beautiful, mashallah. Now, you reached out to me this week. You seen me post a couple of videos on Facebook, and you could see that I was opening up about the streaming of, racism posts about Black Lives Matters, and then also about my difficulties as a mother, being in lockdown and being in a confined space. Mashallah, I'm blessed to be, by a beach where I can visit in a hot country, and most would say, what is there to complain about? And what I've been trying to share this week is that the mental well-being is something that is really important and difficult to manage, and it doesn't matter if you're blessed with wealth or that doesn't matter. It's really maintaining that healthy well-being, mental well-being, that is important. And mashallah, you reached out to me, and and I thank you for that. Jazakallah khairan. But the conversations that came out, I was like, we gotta do this, okay? So I'm opening up, like we're in a psychotherapy session. You're my psychotherapist. Let's talk about this. Obviously, from your perspective, I come into your doors bursting, where do we start? Because I'm having a panic attack right now, Please bless us, inshallah.
Yeah. Well, first of all, excuse me, teacher. First of all, I will calm you down, and settle you down, and so that I can reach you, inside you. And it's often, I mean, I actually do get people like that in reality, as as my clients. That's often come in with panic, and and sometimes even they may look they're not panicking, but internally they're falling apart. And after the session, they will say, "My God, I was really falling apart," but they were not presenting it in physical form. Yeah. So first thing would be to calm you down and settle you down, and then we'll begin, I suppose. And obviously, this is, by the way, I have to say, it's not a counseling session, but it's just going to be something kind of a simulating one, like it's not real. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. I just really wanted to, have some pointers that people can use because, mashallah, people have just, flooded me with so much suggestions. Some people were like, meditate, breathe, and I have to say, I have been practicing. I have a yoga teacher at the moment. I know that's another, controversial topic. But I do, and breathing has been very powerful. The other day I was able to just breathe through turning anger into acceptance. And that was so healthy for me. But I don't think it should take away from how hard it is for me every single day. I am fighting depression. That's my situation. Now, what sometimes I wonder is this genetics for me? I often wonder because I'm quite the optimistic person, So, I mean, from your perception, like, what would you say to me in reference to that? Is it genetical?
Well, thing is, if you just psychologist, they will say, I mean, as a human being, we have so many facets that brings us as a human being, and all the experiences, including genetic, can have influence. You know, so in even any disease, there's a lot of. I mean, I know some diseases are more susceptible to genetic, and I think now we have something called transgenerational, trauma. So basically, trauma can come from generation after generation within your gene. So it's it can be, but it's not. What's important is how you deal with it, right? It can come from transgenerational, trauma is what there is that. Meaning, if your family suffered, and it's likely also, even if we go to the neuroscience part of it,
Yeah.
that your memories, your parents' stories, your whatever it is that you have actually been experiencing since young, they do stay with us. So we just put them back of our head. We move forward.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean they've kind of left us, but I think more and more now they're talking about is that those trauma do stay, but we learn to manage with the current situation, and we learn to kind of put them, kind of file them. It's like filing
Yeah.
cabinet. We file them away, but every now and then, if you haven't dealt with it properly, sometimes they rear their heads in a really bad way. So then
Mhm.
we will have panics, and we will have traumatic experiences, anxiety, that kind of thing, cognitive dissonance, basically confusion and conflicts. Um, so sometimes one of the things is that if you haven't dealt with a traumatic experience before, it's more likely that you can also carry on kind of it will, you might have, even some people develop PTSD as a result. I have had people living with it for years, and until they came into my room and I looked at them, and I realized they're on a merry-go-round. They can't get off the merry-go-round. They're just constantly ruminating, going round and round on one subject. Then something drastically wrong, and that person has been living like that. The family is in a havoc, in a situation that no everybody is affecting everybody else. No one can breathe properly in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, it can affect. It can have an impact.
Now, in our conversation, you mentioned something, and I think one of the things that came out in a lot of the posts that I did was a lot of people were like, Shalina, because I was like, I'm coming off Facebook. I can't take this anymore. I'm being exposed to things that are
Yeah.
just out of my control. So a lot of people were like, okay, don't come off Facebook, but just be selective. And one of the things that when I was talking to you previously, you mentioned was about the mind and body connect. That unfortunately, at the moment, we are very much overactive with the mind, and we're not taking time out to do things with our
Yeah.
body that can play a big part in our healing process. I'd
Yeah.
love you to go into that a little bit more.
Yeah. So I mean, I mean, sometimes I'm sure when you meet people, you can see they're just talking. It's all is in their head, and you can see sometimes they're not breathing well either, because soon as when we're in a situation where we are shocked, we're in a this survival mode. We straight away we often go to our head. Some people can take other direction in order to kind of gratify other ways of their anxiety, but often it's in the head, right? And then you can see it. You can see they're not breathing well. They cannot settle down. And breathing is, through yoga, and we also do that. Most good psychotherapists will notice that. They will tell you that you're not breathing well. You need to do this, and sometimes we even do the exercise with them to order to show them how to do it. So I think it's very important that we're able to kind of pick that up and say to them that actually, you know, and I often will take them away from their head, and I will take them away to the body. Where are you feeling in your body, for example? Where is your pain? And and you will see if somebody's suffering a huge anxiety and panic, and they come back straight to where they were in the merry-go-round again. So I recently had to tell somebody, the slowing down is so important. They have to really slow down and think a little, take a step back, what's actually happening to me. And when somebody who is professional indicates this, you do need to kind of take a step back, take a deep breath, and tell me what's actually happening in your body. What's happened to your body. Like, it's as if that doesn't matter. They often just hold in here everything. So I think, because this is where the relaxation comes. And if you're not relaxed and you're constantly living in your head, what happens sometimes in your brain is you get flooded. You can't think straight. The clarity isn't there. You can't make decision well. If you don't have clarity, you can't actually clearly concentrate or focus on your life, or any task you're doing is all over the place as a result. Which is why people sometimes.
But this is the thing, is that, and what came out of our conversation when we were talking about where are we going to start? Because what I see is a generation in this lockdown experience that have been bombarded with trauma. First of all, there's the lockdown, being with members of your family that you can't stand all of a sudden, and the procrastination, before you could be like, what, I'm going to the gym, what, I'm going to go shopping to the mall, what, I'm going to go to the pub, I'm going to go get drunk, and all of these coping mechanisms or procrastinations. No, you can't do that now. You're stuck in four walls. Then we have COVID. Then we have Black Lives Matter. Then we have, I heard Boris in England. I had to laugh, because I was like, what's coming next, Sharia law? It was so funny where he said, that basically if you was in a relationship and your partner lived outside of the house, they couldn't come to your house. I have to laugh because, it was just so funny. But how traumatic is that, for a bunch of people? So it was just bombardment, and I seen, and I've been in my own little groups, mothers talking about the fact that we have to operate, we have to be at our best constantly, because we're with our kids or where we are leading a household, so it is like quite scary, because I don't think, and I've been saying it for a long time, because of where I live in Kuwait, the conditions here are very different. My lockdown is very serious, but in a way, and let's bring it into a positive now. What I found was, after I cleaned up the house and I tidied up the kitchen and I organized everything and I scrubbed everywhere and I ran out of things to do, I finally had to just stop and listen to my thoughts. And what I found was I had literally, I had layers of emotional stuff that I just pushed down, miscarriages, people that had hurt me. All this pain wanted to come up, and I think that's, where all my little videos are coming out on Facebook, where I'm like, ugh, and doing it in a way is nice, because I am getting different, coping strategies come flooding to me in love. But I mean, are you sensing that as a psychotherapist in your own work? Are you seeing an influx of people now coming to you with this?
Yeah, absolutely. And I notice everybody's like gone quiet suddenly in my professional arena. Like, what's happening? I've been inquiring what's going on. Everyone is so busy with whether it's from the family or externally or professionally. There's so much need to, people start recognizing it's about time I actually looked at my stuff. Let's do something about it, and they have come forward as a result of this COVID and lockdown, because they realized they can't actually cope. And it actually forced a lot of people to come and talk to a psychotherapist or a counselor, in order to kind of look at themselves, because when things are unbearable, they cannot do their job. You need to do something about it in order to rescue yourself from going further down, and because one of the things unfortunately happens in society is that people don't realize they need help, because they think, oh, I can cope when I'll do this, or I'll go to the gym, or I go to, but these are only putting plaster on your on your cuts, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't see those injury in your head, so you're constantly doing other things in order to put more plaster on it. But really, the reality, you really need to look at that wound and
Yeah.
actually treat it properly, so that you can move on, because then you wouldn't recycle this constantly. It's
Mm-hmm.
cycling, I mean. So really, and then you get to a point that you can't get up any longer because you haven't treated your earlier wounds, and
Yeah.
it gets bigger and bigger and festers, and it gets worse. So yes, we do have a lot of people. um, I don't think it's enough, but because it never was enough before, you see. So it's, with the lockdown, it just kind of exploded,
Mm-hmm.
and and so really, I mean, I think I do feel sometimes, because think it, our government manages the country and its people and its health. They are not managing their mental health, because we have to go around with a little pot in my center that I work. I won't mention it here. That we actually go with the begging bowl to charities in order to serve the community,
Mm.
and actually there's so much need. Now we cut down from 1 year to up to 6 session now, 6, 12, 14, and 16, and those people actually literally sometimes I say we just pick them up from the floor. Literally they were on the floor. Some social service, people went around, and they then eventually persuaded them. We found somebody who can give you free counseling in your own language, for example.
Yeah.
This is what the government is supposed to be doing, because people's health, because you're spending more money on medicine. You could have just, you didn't have to, they didn't have to take thousands of different kind of medicine. They needed actually, because sometimes they don't realize how it translates. When you're mentally ill, everything falls apart, your body falls apart, because we actually, our trauma can stay in the body. There's huge amount of study to show that.
Yeah.
And you have one stress, the doctor asks, well, what's happened to you? Did you have, like, I've got diabetic, doctor. Well, I remember somebody said to me like that, and he straight away, he was a good doctor, he said, well, what happened to you recently? So, oh well, something drastic happened in my family, and it just triggered off the anxiety, and then here I am,
Mm-hmm.
with this condition. So you can see we have the link, right? Body, mind have a link, right? So our stress hormones have a huge impact on our body.
Yeah.
And if we don't really think as human race, if the government doesn't facilitate that situation for people, you abandon them, and then obviously it's this, depends on the wages, would depend on your money.
Mm-hmm.
Where if and I'm sure the richer people can reach out easily, they all have a shrink. But
Yeah.
it's the poorer people who are left behind, do whatever you like. I think they're not being wise in how they spend the money in National Health Service, and they're
Yeah.
not they are neglecting that part of mental health, and they keep promising, they do nothing about it. And I've been in this cycle. People have been shut down, my agency's been shut down. I have
Mm.
to move from one to another in London, for
So,
example.
so we've clearly identified then that what we're saying is that if there isn't this mind and body connect, and we don't address what is actually happening in the mind, that you're going to have problems that will come out in your body. It will manifest itself with
Yeah.
diabetes, with blood pressure, and things like that,
Yeah.
right? And this is what I'm getting. You know, a good friend of mine, who was a psychologist, we had a conversation about this, and you know, it's funny because his friend referred him to a book of healing. Now, this is a psychologist that doesn't have time for any of this thing, and he says, "Bloody hell!" You know, he had a knee problem, and when they looked at you know, what was the cause of it, it was keeping anger and resentment inside being self-punishing. And he started laughing because he said, actually, I'm a sucker for work. You know, he will work himself till he is burnt out. And how has it resulted in his body, you know, being in this state? So, you know, moving forward, because, you know, I've been seeing the same. Now, my conflict at the moment, and it's something that I'm growing and learning about, is that with Islam I have prayer, you know, where I do that, and there's yoga. But yoga, obviously, in Islam are two different, you know, on two different sides of the courts, really, you know. And for me, I've not seen anything from my Muslim community. So, you know, you do Islamic, you know, psychology, and I'm just interested and wondering now. We're coming to the end of you know, this discussion, and I think we're ending on a valuable note, which is that we have to take time out to make that mind and body connect. How can we do that? You know, from your experience, and now coming and ending through really on an Islamic note, how would you do that and tie that in? What would you say?
Okay, so for me, obviously, as you know, Muslims, they come from different areas and things. With the Islamic psychology so far, that has, you know, I mean, everybody's in a different level. For me personally, I think yoga doesn't have to be something so different, because I think our salah, it's a huge form of yoga. This is my yoga, right? Even when I am walking around in the park, for me, coming to I'm just thinking about Allah. First of all, he said, ponder, reflect on my nature, right? I often actually be quite prescriptive. So, like I will ask my clients that, did you go to, do you use the park? Do you use the nature sometime? You know, whenever you're feeling anxiety, what do you do? You know, and for a Muslim client, I would say to them, you know, what do you do when you're doing your salah? Because do you sit down, do you ponder and reflect, and do you actually look, you know, because thing is, the salah itself is seen as like a form of yoga, right? Because it's like every
Can I
stage.
say, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but my mum said something to me actually. And she said, Subhana, and you know, I cried when she told me. She said, when we make salah and we put our hand on our heart and we recite Al-Fatiha, Al-Fatiha is a ruqya, it's a healing for you, you know. And I was like, Subhanallah, you know, how many
Yes.
times a day we're doing this, and we don't stop and make these connects. We don't realize, you know, but sorry, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much in it actually. So you will need a lot more than this few minutes. There's so much in it, because it's like you said, our focus on when we're praying is called Arabic word khushu. We need to be able to be in that state, in the state of khushu, right? In state of this reflective space with Allah in you. He, like Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he was saying, like, you pray when like you see him. So you've got to kind of understand that he is our companion as well. He said he's near to our jugular vein. They're nearer than that, nearer than the jugular vein. So you can imagine he's with you. And this, unfortunately, needs practicing. It doesn't just come. It's a practice-based thing, habitual thing. You know, it's become then your character, and then it, you know, hopefully it's your destiny. So that process is there. It's a process. It's just not going to come just like that, you know. So
Yeah.
it's like it's a daily trying, because also this journey is beautiful. It's like, for me, he is the love of everything. He is the love, right? And the way you make a progress is to want to be with your lover, right? So in some way, when you're standing in prayer, I mean, obviously we've just gone from with the love is involves your heart, right? These are the intention and the condition that you need to be able to grasp. However, the body and mind, if also you need to kind of, when you bring that, is it's a further down. The process is further down. You see, because then you have to realize your some of the yoga positions that they say we actually do in our salon when we
Yeah,
go to
I've
walk.
noticed. Yeah.
That what we even when we go, like our leg has to be, the muscle has to be tightened to a little bit, because we don't even sometimes do that position properly.
Mm.
So actually, if you look at it, the materials are out there actually. Even you can Google it, how it's done and how it is linked with it. There are lots. So actually, I put loads in my. I actually talked about it, some of the things already. Um, how these positions are very very important,
Yeah.
and each position you are actually concentrating. You are you're repeating. Obviously, bringing spiritual and physical and mental together.
Mhm.
Okay, it is our soul, and we're in Islamically it's more expansive. Unfortunately, it's a lot more. It's not just our physical and mental. We have our soul, the spiritual part. So we have different kind of intelligence there. So
Mm.
we've got spiritual intelligence, emotional intelligence, and in the intellectual IQ, right? So we have all of these together, and it takes a lot of exercise, a lot of mind, heart, and body in order to bring it together. And I think this, for me, is the best form of yoga, because you've got all together. It's not just like or it's not that whatever they do, right? It's not. I think it's half done. Without Islam, it's half done,
I
because you've
noticed
got to
when,
bring spirit.
yeah, breathing spiritually. Yeah, I noticed, and since
Spiritual part is so important for me. I think is that then if it becomes holistic for me. I suppose as a Muslim, that's how I see it. Not everybody's going to see it that way, but because, as you know, in Islam we have certain amount of consciousness about where we're going in our daily work. So whatever we do, we make an intention for. We do it for sake of Allah. Whatever good job we do, we make intention to do. Everything is so. When you bring in the spiritual side to your prayer, it's kind of more holistic, if you see what I mean. So
yeah,
if you think about your aim is to please Allah, because looking after your body is also looking after your spiritual side. That people don't link it. Muslims don't link that often. We don't think enough, I think, because this is one of my drive is we don't think enough. We don't take a step back and think, what is it we're doing here? And I think I actually love this question to ourselves. Question yourself. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? And I say literally to a lot of my clients, let's think about this. So what is this we're doing,
yeah.
here? Or what do you want to achieve through this?
Mm.
And obviously my clients, is they come with their stuff. It's nothing to do with me. I'm actually just walking with them
Mm.
and helping them make their own decisions.
Yeah,
Nothing. I don't give them advice. Um, I just being with them. Um, you know, making choices. They make the choice, but I am with them to facilitate that.
yeah. Just to
Whatever.
nudge them in the right way, like, okay, just let's get back on the
Well,
right track.
show them, yeah, basically show them, but they make the choices. How they. So if they are happy with something, they'll make those choices.
Yeah. So,
Obviously,
so if anybody is
that
like, totally inspired by you, mashallah, which I'm sure they would be, and I know that we haven't had enough time to speak about really the thing is, but I wanted to everyone to understand the journey, because one of the things that, a lot of sisters say to me, or people, I have non-Muslims that follow me as well, Ashlina, we love you because you're just so real. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just put posts like, oh man, and I just say it like it is, and then I can smile at the end of it. And I really just, that's what this whole series is about. Let's talk, let's heal, because I really think that that's what's coming out of this whole COVID, right? Is that we need to heal, right?
And I think what comes from the COVID is making us think,
Yes.
really. And
Yeah.
I feel, because I'm optimist, I feel it's going to really bring out human nature back again, because we've kind of almost gone into this electronic world of, and the race world. We're just racing. And there was time I used to think, well, I wish the world just stay still for 5 minutes and think
Yeah.
what's going on here, because actually we've created a world the human nature cannot live in, because we've created a world, electronic world.
Mhm.
And really, and the media, everything, our nature, it doesn't work that fast. We can't catch up with it, and
You
everything
know,
just falls apart of it.
I think what's important is yesterday I was with my daughter, she's 9 years old, and she was on TikTok. And now on TikTok, there is a stream of Black Lives Matter posts. And I said to her, why do you think Black Lives Matter, Khadija? I was like, why? Because, I realized I have to have this discussion. Otherwise, we're going to have a generation of young children that have got mental health problems, serious.
Yeah.
And I realized, I was like, does it bother you, Khadija, that we're saying Black Lives Matter? Because racism isn't inbred in our kids. So as far as she's concerned, like, yeah, Black Lives Matter, but why is it just Black Lives, right? And she was like, because they're special. I was like, why are they special? And it just, and I realized I have to have this conversation with my daughter and help her understand that humanity made a mistake.
Yeah.
And all that she can do is make sure that in the future she is not part of that generation that are going to continue such an ugly
Yeah.
idea, because it's an idea, isn't it? And I know the root of it, comes from
Yeah.
Iblis, where he's like,
Yeah.
I'm made of fire, you're made of clay. That's the first, egos and,
In Islam, Muhammad SAW stamped it down. Even his last sermon, he kept talking about this in order to kind of hope. His hope was to obviously destroy that there and then. That's it. And he actually gave so many stories regards to how he actually admonished people for even inferring things, horrible things like that.
yeah,
And one of the Sahaba said, well, he told Bilal, put your feet on my face just so that I feel that I am not better than you. And he said, no.
yeah.
He put,
I will put this in a hadith. It's so true. I think he said something, and
yeah.
yeah, it was. I'm going to put that hadith
Yeah.
because,
So, I mean, I'm sure this is a huge subject again, but yes, so I think human being, we need to, as a larger community, we need to think, what do we actually want? Because yes, we have allowed a neurocentric world, and we have allowed that, I think, also because we kind of often, our identity got lost. We have identity issue crisis, huge crisis. Whoever you are, often I think money isn't, obviously, as you know, is a problem sometimes, because then those who don't have the money and those who have the money become this. It's really very complex. I'm sure you
yeah,
understand what I'm trying to say. It's very
yeah,
complex when it comes to the power imbalance. In different ways. It's not even black and white. Sometimes it's not even. It's the power, and how they
have
imposed it.
have you
And
have you got a platform at the moment where, because we're coming to the end now, where if anyone wants to continue this conversation with you, is there a platform that you've created that people can join? Shala,
um,
I
I
think you
actually
mentioned.
have got a like page and things like, Islamic psychotherapy with Islamic values and things, but I actually don't communicate with anybody in that way. I'm
Mhm,
just so busy with my work. But yeah, maybe in the future I'll create something. At the
mhm.
moment, I don't have.
So, what's your last word then, inshallah? You've calmed me down. You've told me I need to breathe and just start to reflect on the questions that are happening inside of me. That's what I would take from this, right? So
Okay.
over to you. This is the last word now.
Yeah, there's so many words, but I, I think first thing, the reflective thinking is so important, because sometimes we actually don't know what we want, because we don't have that moment to ask ourselves. So what am I doing and why I'm doing this? And subhanallah, in Islam, we have this so ingrained in the teaching of our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is that intention. What's your intention? And that gives us a focus, doesn't it? And it's so beautifully managed in that way. How he taught us is, when we just have to go back there and ask. Sometimes I do couple therapy, so I would say to my couples, you know, what would Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam do between his wives and him in this process? Because the thing is, they don't realize. All we have to do is, when we sometimes focus on what would he do, because we know the stories. He's not going to get up and shout and scold his children, right? He's not going to do them first. He's going to ask them, what's happened? How can I help you? And I think it takes only simple. I think it's just simple things that we're missing. We complicate things actually sometimes by either talking about the future or the past. And we forget the current. What's happening today? How can I make my family smile today? How can I make myself, first of all, smile? Because if you're not smiling, no one else gonna smile. So I think, for me, nature also is another thing that I question sometimes. Look, Allah has gifted us with so much to be grateful. It's talking about the cake, the 95% that you hold, and the 5% missing. You keep crying about that 5%. Where is my 5%? Of the cake. It's the same that Allah has given us so much. Within our body, within our children, with the nature around, just to please. I look at a flower and I say, why did he produce this flower? For whom did he produce this flower? And I say to myself, for me. Oh Allah, you gave that for me, for my eyes and my heart to be happy. Wow, what a love they have given me. How can I ever thank you enough? I can't thank him enough for one little rose. I can't compare his compassion with nothing. Who is going to be creating me one beautiful rose with nice scent? That for me is teaching me gratitude. And I think when you're grateful, it's very difficult to be sad. And that's another angle. That's for another time.
I love that.
So it's a huge.
When you're grateful, it's difficult to be sad. I love that.
Absolutely.
I think we can end on that. That's a beautiful thing. Inshallah. Oh, Jazakallah khair, thank you so much. And I'm sure that there will be more to come, inshallah. And I will leave your details so anyone can get in touch with you if they want to, inshallah. But Jazakallah khairan for reaching out to me also, because it means a lot to me. I was literally just soundboarding, but the fact that you looked behind my soundboarding and was like, I'm going to make sure she's okay, really means a lot. And I hope that people that watch this video can do the same. If someone in your community or someone that Allah puts in front of you seems distressed, really, I think research it. I think they should do that.
For me, I think, why did Allah bring that person? There must be something I have to do.
Yeah.
And this is. Yeah. But Allah is going to question, what did you do? How can I answer them?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Jazakallah khairan. Salam alaikum.